Next, Taylor Wimpey, the biggest house builder in Britain. It's just won the bid to redevelop the Olympic Park in a deal worth £250 million. Taylor Wimpey is promising more than 800 homes on the site in East London. Let's hope the owners end up with better houses than these.
2007, Taylor Wimpey get planning permission to build over 100 homes here in Cheltenham. 2012, and this estate is the result. Battledown Park, a whole new community built from scratch. It was designed with everything you'd expect. Plenty of green spaces, dedicated communal areas, and not one, but two children's playgrounds. It sounds idyllic, but is it? Well, see what you think. After looking at the boarded up playgrounds that have never been used, and the overall workmanship, that's not the highest quality. Residents complain of landscaped areas that are not properly maintained, and they're not alone. The local council won't adopt the estate until Taylor Wimpey improves and maintains the communal areas. Until then, residents will have a neighbourhood in limbo. The exterior problems would be easier to bear if residents could relax indoors, but not for one homeowner. He has been left with a problem you can't see, but you can definitely hear.
You hear them in the morning, afternoon, late at night you hear them scrabbling. You don't feel comfortable in your house and you don't feel comfortable having people around.
Andrew Tibbetts paid almost £180,000 for a house which is plagued by rats in the cavity walls. So what did Taylor Wimpey say when he reported it?
I need to prove exactly how they're getting in order for them to admit whether it's their fault.
So Andrew paid for a drain survey. Maybe that could prove how the rats are getting in. According to footage from inside the pipes, the drains beneath the house have sunk. And don't take my word for it, we gave the report to an expert.
It does appear that the drainage system is in particularly poor condition. During construction, it is bedded on gravel. If that bedding is insufficient, or if the ground underneath it has moved, that pipe will sink under its own weight. It was predictable at the time of construction and should have been addressed at that time.
Because the drains have actually dipped, there's now a void above where the drain used to be. So the drain inspection chaps have suggested that the rats are now getting in around the drain pipes and they're actually living underneath these voids and then gaining access to the walls.
The survey also said that waste will continue to build up in the pipes and recommended excavating the front garden to carry out repairs. Our expert believes neighbouring homes could also be affected.
This is a problem that is very, very serious and affecting a terrace of properties, and it really requires urgent investigation. It's simply unacceptable at the present time.
Whilst Taylor Wimpey have left Andrew with a serious structural fault, they've given other customers a host of niggling problems. When you buy a brand new home, the odd problem here or there is to be expected. But imagine how you would feel if the house you spent hundreds of thousands of pounds on was positively riddled with them. Scott Reynolds bought a 3-bedroom Taylor Wimpey house on the Buckingham Park estate in Aylesbury. He photographed it at every stage of building, but as far as he's concerned, it still isn't finished.
We've had loads of faults in the last 15 months. This step, for instance, has been replaced on 2 separate occasions, and it still wobbles around. The front door's been leaking. We've had to have the inside resealed. Okay, so we're in the shower now. The original tiles were peeling away from the wall, so they had to come out and replace all of the tiles. We've had lots of issues with the kitchen. The boiler above the kitchen leaked and caused quite a substantial flood. The whole of the kitchen ceiling needed to be removed to stop what they call micro-cracking.
Scott reckons that Taylor Wimpey have made over 40 visits to repair the dozens of faults around his home. Now, after months of waiting, most of those have been fixed.
I think the whole experience over the last 15 months has been pretty dreadful and not at all what we expected.
One of Scott's neighbours has also had similar problems. Adam Bateman has been left with unfinished guttering, doors that are peeling apart, a wonky porch canopy, creaky stairs, and some power sockets that don't switch off. These are the last of nearly 70 different issues he's had with the house since he moved in November 2010. But that's not always the case. In fact, we heard of one Taylor Wimpey development where residents' homes are literally being torn apart.
The first crack I noticed down here, it was winter time and I thought it was frost getting into the mortar. But unfortunately, it was the start of the house moving.
Aidan Taylor's house in Cambridgeshire is heaving. That means there's movement underground, causing one side to dip and the other to rise. Aidan's house is cracking up, along with his neighbours. What does our man make of it?
Now here we have some really significant cracking, which shows that the corner of the building is actually rotating against the remaining part of the building. Yes, we've got a serious problem with this wall. Whilst you might expect some cracking at the joint, you wouldn't expect it to be 30 millimetres wide. This is something that needs to be addressed quite urgently.
A survey found that the clay soil under the house is expanding and contracting with the seasons. Barry suspects the developer used the wrong foundation for this type of subsoil and didn't take account of the removal of some large trees from the site.
It's a very severe problem because you can't leave this on the hope that it's going to correct itself, because it won't. The one corner of the house is particularly badly damaged and needs to be put right, and obviously the foundations need to be put back into a condition that is adequate to support the structure.
So what would Barry do to tackle the problem?
Take down the house, dig up the foundations and start again. And of course that would be the ideal scenario, because you get rid of all the problems at once.
Quite heartbreaking really after moving into what you think is a dream home, and what it feels like is falling down around you basically.
Unfinished estates, shoddy workmanship and crumbling houses. As Taylor Wimpey prepares to begin work on 800 new homes at the Olympic Park, we have one main wish: that this isn't the kind of legacy we're left with.
Ricky Boletto reporting there. Taylor Wimpey told us it's dedicated to delivering excellence in the design and construction of its homes and has a long history of delivering a high level of customer service.
And no doubt the vast majority of their customers, say 99.9%, are delighted.
Not quite 99%, 91% of them apparently, and they're so satisfied with the quality of their new home that they'd recommend Taylor Wimpey to a friend.
Good for them.
The company goes on to say it builds around 10,000 homes each year, and regrettably it's clearly not met its high quality standards in the cases we've highlighted. It says it was already working with each of our interviewees to rectify their problems, and it's committed to resolving their remaining issues as quickly as possible. It's also apologised to each of them.
Reassuring. Still to come, the strange...